Hello, everyone. My name is Olivia. I am an intuitive sex and intimacy guide. I help singles and couples tap into spiritual intimacy and really deepen their connection to their bodies and each other. And Debra is here. So, Debra, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Debra Wilder. I live in St. Pete, Florida, and I focus on the individual. So solo Tantra practices has been my thing since 2010. And I help people build a foundation in Tantra, and I'm also a clinical sexologist.
Love it. And yeah, today we wanted to get into some juicy topics. We wanted to kind of talk a little bit about sacred sexuality and some of our own experiences of how different methods have helped us heal, helped us expand, and really tap into new ways of being, of pleasure, and really experiencing our romantic partnerships.
Yeah, really important stuff.
Yeah, amazing. So the first topic that we wanted to dive into was let's do massage and kind of how healing tantric massage has been either for ourselves or for the clients we've worked with. So I'm happy to maybe if you want to kick
Yeah,
that
no,
off.
it's funny you brought that up because I had a list of topics that I thought both our audiences and clients would love to hear about. And then at the very top, I went back and added pussy massage.
Yes.
Or genital massage, because it's for all genders.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah. So maybe tell me kind of like what got you curious about that modality and kind of your experience with it.
With the genital massage, pussy
Yeah.
massage. Oh, I came from a yoga background and I met some lady, just happened chance through that in 2009. And although I didn't have like a real pussy massage myself until many years later. So that's what got me started into it. And I was working in Tantra shortly after that, went through a long training. And just being involved with the Tantra community and sacred sexuality people and trading and learning from others. And the very first like real G-spot massage and full like yoni massage area I had by someone that had been trained, a former lover. That was like, oh, this is the most amazing experience. I want to keep having that. Orgasmic, just letting go, full body opening. But I always saw that in the beginning kind of as, oh, this is what my lover can learn how to do. Because there's been so much stigma. Thankfully, it's going away, but so much stigma around having it done professionally, aside from a physical therapist trained in pelvic floor, which isn't about orgasms quite as much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what got you interested in it?
Yeah, so my story was a little bit different. So I feel like throughout my romantic and intimate experiences, I experienced a lot of pain when it came to penetration or just like even discomfort. And it was really, confusing for me because I wanted this pleasure, this orgasmic state so deeply, but sometimes I was experiencing numbness. When it came down to penetration, my body would almost like shut off and I wouldn't feel that turn on. So I also did a 1-year program. It was the Layla Martin Vital Integrated Tantric Approach to Sex, Love, and Relationships. And that was a deep dive of really just learning how to, just like any other part of our body, like our vagina is a muscle and we store any tension, any memories in that area. And unless we can really go in and just massage through the discomfort or any, emotions that may be stuck there, it'll keep continuing to come up either in the form of pain or in the form of numbness. So I think that was a huge step into even me getting this awareness around my body of like, yeah, your normal state shouldn't be pain, right? Like your normal state shouldn't be numbness. And that was huge for me. And then I did as I was like in that program, I was learning to receive and give the massage, and some magical things happen. But I would say, like, because my story is a little different, I had to almost like go through the pain and discomfort before I was able to get to more of that pleasurable state. And it was something too where I felt like, oh, this is something that I'd want to do with like a partner. And it's like no one's really taught how to hold space, you know, for women, and to really go slow and to take time with the body. I think, you know, the narrative or what we learn in porn is, you know, you're turned on and then boom, you know, you have sex and then it's like 3 minutes and then it's done. But like for a woman, you know, it does sometimes take time for our bodies to relax, to feel safe, and to really feel like we can go into that level of surrender. So that's a little bit, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So part of that story reminds me of my story. I left out part of it. I did have numbness, but in a different way that a lot of women do experience this. Like I was very orgasmic clitorally, and having sex, I could sometimes have like penetrative sex from somewhere in the vaginal area. But until I started having like internal G-spot work done, and then also like more experiences with dating women, I had numbness. And then through work, or through, you know, work in that area, I was able to have G-spot orgasms, cervical orgasms, P-spot, all of that. So I didn't know I was numb because I was having lots of orgasms, but then I saw this other way we can experience it.
How magical. Yeah, and I would say too, it's like even as myself, like I've been doing this work for now 3 years, but there's still new levels that I'm experiencing when it comes to turn on and pleasure. And I have like a vision of the state that I want to be in, of being able to surrender that deeply, but I also know how it's a process. And that's why like I always encourage, you know, others to know that like it is a process as well, and that there is, once you kind of put more intentionality in it, it starts to change your whole experience. Like my part of my story too, I was always so frustrated, like why isn't this happening, why isn't my body feeling all this pleasure? And it was a lot of my mind kind of coming in and not being as loving as maybe now that I am, now that I've really learned the tools to really, you know, nurture myself through these experiences and allow myself to feel safe, to open up. So I would say a huge one too for me was like one of the first, maybe this is like the second time I was receiving a pussy massage, and my intention, it was like with one of my lovers. I was like, hey, are you open to doing this? We were pretty new, but I was just like so happy that he was willing to explore. And my intention was like, I really want to surrender to the masculine, right? To really get to this new level of surrender. All right, like what I did not expect to happen was I did prep him. I'm like, hey, I may cry. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm either going to orgasm or I'm going to cry, or like something crazy might happen. And he was like, no, he's like, I totally understand. Like, he was really cool with just like being that anchor, just to be, you know, that masculine holding space.
And was this before you did your Vita program, or?
So I think that was like during. That was during when I was practicing and still doing a lot of release work. So I remember when, and I always like do my massages blindfolded. Like I'm all about like use this as a meditative experience and really go inward into the body and completely receive. And so I just like the biggest thing I remember, like as he was massaging, there was discomfort, there wasn't pain, which I was like, okay, good. Like it's not painful. Like, you know, there's a little bit of discomfort, but not enough for me to say stop. And like, as I was experiencing this, at one point, I almost like have this out of body experience where I like feel this like guttural sadness come out. And all that I hear is, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And like, it's like me saying sorry to me. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, sorry for all the times that like my body said no, but my mind said yes. It's like, sorry for all those times that I wasn't respecting what my body wanted and going against that. So I was like, holy crap. Like that was wild. I was like, yo, I didn't know that I was so hard on myself. And just like,
Mhm.
maybe my body was like giving me all these intuitive hits and I was like completely not listening. I was like, whatever, I want this thing and I'm going to get this thing. I don't care what my body's saying. So,
Yeah, well, we're taught to ignore our body also. Like if we feel mentally turned on and maybe we have that like burning in our pelvic area, we're taught to like, all right, go ahead and have sex. If you're not wet enough, then use lube or do oral and add some wetness that way. And oh, maybe we're not wet because we're not in that place in our cycle. We're at a drier phase, but we should always be getting wet. And yeah, of course, you can add lube and everything, but so many times, yeah, I have ignored what my pussy wants.
exactly, yeah. And
Mhm.
it's interesting that you say that because even a recent, like a friend that also does tantric work, she made this post around, yeah, if your pussy's not getting wet, there's a reason for it. So it's almost like, hey, this is just another indication of like, well, what does she need? Right? What does she need to really, feel safe, to, feel relaxed? And yeah, sometimes we go straight to the lube because they're like, okay, like this is what you need. But it's like, no, maybe it's a different perspective. Maybe it's like, okay, there's something deeper that I can explore here to understand my body more and what it needs. But yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
So
but sometimes it pops up at just the worst timing.
yes,
Like you've been so turned on to be with this person for the first time,
yeah,
and then they like open the condom or something, and like suddenly my pussy's like, I don't know, I'm not quite ready.
yes, yes, yeah,
But then the
and
other person was like, well, 5 seconds ago you were really ready. You were like, open up that condom and put it on.
yeah,
So
yeah, and exactly. So it's funny that you bring that up because that was a lot of my story. Like prior to the penetration, I'm so turned on. I want this. I'm so ready. But it's almost like the act of it, if it would be like, it's like something where my body would shut down because probably previous experiences,
mhm.
I wasn't fully ready. And so the body remembers, the body is remembering all these experiences. So it is a way to like relearn the body, especially I'm sure in the work that you do, is like how do you trust
Mhm.
your body again and trust to listen to it so that you know exactly what it needs, what it wants, knowing when to say, hey, I need a pause, or like, hey, can you do this? Like a
Mhm.
lot of it's around expression. And sometimes we tend to shut down in those periods of like not knowing. And then, yeah.
Yeah, or just go with it. And I know for my own self, things I can do because I've learned, like, I follow the erotic blueprints, the
Yes.
5. So I know, like, I need the energetic turn ons, which
Same.
a lot of us Tantra people are. So I'm mostly energetic, which is hard in the heat of the moment when you're touching each other. It's
Hmm.
going out to dinner and looking in their eyes, or sexting and getting like all excited about it. But then in the moment, it's like, it's so right there. But I know like how I can step away and bring in the energetic and the sensual.
Yeah, and I'm also an energetic blueprint. So it was only till like recently that I understood even that the workshop, the Soulgasm workshop that I created, in a funny way, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm teaching people my energetic blueprint. Because at that time, I didn't know how to express,
Oh.
I didn't know how to tell my partners I'm energetic because I guess you could say even I didn't fully know, right? Because I'm like, oh, I want it, and then I don't want it, and I'm like, what? This makes no sense. But the energy part, like even like I encourage people to explore, like if you feel that sometimes you shut down, like maybe it's like, oh, you want the hand just to like be on top of the
Mhm.
vulva, but not touching it. Like I know like that can sometimes send me even the anticipation or like the teasing. I love like the still like the teasing and like, okay, not yet. And this preparation of like really warming the body up and just feeling that connection, like you said, energetically before going into the physicality.
Yeah, and also for me, easing in like that.
Hmm.
Just, okay, I'm here. And then like, because if someone like goes like hard and fast towards my clit with like
Oh,
rough
God.
paper fingers and like too hard. It's like it turns me off big time.
Yeah,
Wow.
same. Yeah, I always like, and now like I'm at this level where I can, tell my partners and be like, hey, I really like it when we go slow, when you tease me. Like it
Mm.
really helps, build up my, body to prepare. Yeah. And then it just makes the experience that much better. And, I hope that, yeah, you do have a partner that is willing to explore this with you, that is willing to be like, oh my gosh, of course. Like most of the time our partners just want to know what to do. But it's also up to us to communicate that, not just expect our partners to like figure it out and know us. They can't read our minds at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can feel guilty for like taking so much time from them. Like I'm telling couples, "Oh, do this pussy massage for 20 to 30 minutes."
Yeah.
Half an hour of just touching the yoni area. So a lot of women can feel guilty, or they're like, "Oh, I feel a little rush. Like I feel like I need to rush in, or I need to offer him sex quickly."
Yeah.
Or also the guy getting so excited he wants to have sex early, like getting
Hmm.
super excited and not just like holding with the excitement,
Hmm.
staying there and continuing the pussy massage, but going into penetration. So there's a lot to learn around that for couples or lovers that are doing on this. I just finished an intimacy educator program that's a lot of it's genital massage,
Okay.
and for all genders, men, women, genderqueer. And a huge part of it was around consent and always starting slowly.
Hmm.
Always like keep checking in. Don't trust the the receiver to voice if something is too hard or too soft, or they want touched a different place on their body, to keep
Hmm.
checking in with, is this too hard or soft, in case they're being quiet with that. But I learned all these different things because it is also, it's the sexual, sensual part, orgasmic, but also trauma healing. So I learned a bunch of new pussy and genital massage techniques that I didn't actually know before.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, because in my when I guide couples through the massage, I encourage a lot of the asking of, is this would you like it faster or slower, more pressure, less pressure? So, yeah, there's definitely sometimes, yeah, we're not always comfortable asking that, but it's a practice of being able to communicate. And even probably in that moment, you're exploring what type of sensation do you like? And sometimes, it's not you're going to explore like faster sensations. Okay. And you can maybe take a minute to see, do you like that? Or do you like something that's slower? In the massage too, there's so much communication. Sometimes we don't know, like if we like something with less pressure and more pressure, but like that's part of the exploration of the massage, of really exploring, do you like different types of sensation? I think too, like a lot of what I teach is like sensational play. Experiment. Do you like light taps? Do you like,
Mhm.
you know, what like on any part of the body, right? Whether it's, our genitals or not, there's different types of touch that may be more soothing or more pleasurable or excite you more.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing about your couples, well, and solo workshops, the Soulgasm.
Yes, I would
Since
love to
you
talk
brought
about
that
it.
up about your energetic blueprint.
Yeah. So yes, the Soulgasm has been my baby for the last, I guess, 2 years now. So I've been facilitating this workshop, and it seems like it's growing. I'm even like thinking of even creating this as a method and teach other facilitators. But
Mhm.
originally, it's really a form of sex magic breath work plus my own connection to creation and really wanting people to be able to tune into their soul and their soul's desires in a new way. So it's something that I call like 5D sexuality, because I'm
Yeah.
sure you're familiar when you've tapped into sexual energy from those higher dimensions, it doesn't have the density and the shame and the guilt that typically sexual energy today has based on culture, programming of society, our experiences. And so it's been beautiful because in those meditative states, I've been able to access just the purity of the energy, right? It's this knowing that your sexual turn on is beautiful, it's innocent, right? There's none of this the density really that is in today's world. And so that energy, of course, Kundalini, life force energy, it's really what allows us to feel alive. And when you're able to direct this energy and explore your inner world with it, you start to receive so many downloads. You're able to liberate anything that's been keeping you stuck and really access that inner world that may seem dark or the unknown, but it really is where the magic happens. It's
Wow.
where you're able to meet yourself. You're able to see your experiences in life from a higher perspective. You're able to tune into whatever your desire is, because it's still around desire and like having the core intention and desire. But it's a beautiful way to see that desire play out through the body. And for me too, I feel like as a form of healing, some of the breath work that I feel is more like masculine. I feel like this is a form of like feminine healing through not so much structure, but you reclaiming your own intuition, your guidance, and your body's wisdom. And that's been, I think, the most magical. I think as many of us, as you know, we're doing this work, we're like, we're not gurus. We're just here to help you remember what you know or used to know how to do, right? And yeah, so it's really been beautiful just to see the evolution. Like even yesterday, I did a private, and like when you become more, you can say activated, or you do more healing, you're able to just go into like different movements of the body. And it's like each movement you make in that breathwork experience is a remembrance, is another memory that unlocks, or another like insight of wisdom that comes through. So it's been crazy. Like I've been seeing people like they're going to these like goddess, like god poses. I'm like, wow, like it's getting wild. Or like the bot, like most Kundalini, you see people like shaking and the energy moving. This is more of like you are one with the energy and you're almost like directing and navigating the energy. So it's like in my like world, it's like you really tapping into what embodiment means from like an energetic perspective. And so from like, and in a couple, I believe too, like a lot that's happening is like your energy centers are balancing, you know, they're either opening up more, they're just coming back into the flow. And within a couple, like what happens is there's the energy between you two. It's like if you have an open heart and your partner just needs a little more opening, you send that energy. And like this is all happening like on a subconscious level, like you're not always conscious of it, but the more you're aware of your energy, your body, you know exactly what's happening. You're like, oh my gosh, I knew exactly when you were moving, I was sending you the sacral energy. And your partner's like, holy crap, when you were sending that to me, I was able to go and release like this memory I had of childbirth. And like you go into this beautiful space of healing that is just, I mean, it's just magical. So yeah, so it's definitely evolved. Soulgasm evolved, but ultimately heart opening experience to really tune back to you and reclaim that sexual energy that's here to guide you and show you the way.
Yeah, that sounds like such a profound experience.
Well, yeah, thank you for asking. For sure, I would love to have you at the next workshop.
So, use the word energy a lot.
Okay.
No, but someone had told me recently that was interested in Tantra, a friend, so not a coaching client, like, well, what is energy? You say that a lot, but I don't know what that means. And I hadn't thought about that because I've been talking about it for so many, 10 years, and all my friends and teachers I know talk about energy. And I even in my online courses, I don't talk about it a lot. I'm just like, all right, do the practices and you'll feel it, or
Exactly.
eventually you'll feel it.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for people that are more logical. And I probably came from a pretty logical, overthinking place when I started all this. But how I got into like energy stuff, well, yeah, it is energy stuff. Back in 07, I was invited to a Qigong class at this conference I was at, and they kept mentioning it. So I'm like, okay, Qigong, it's similar to Tai Chi or something. And I had never done any kind of energy practice. The most I had felt is like movement during Kundalini yoga slightly. Like I hadn't been into Kundalini very much then. Or like getting a massage and feeling senses. Yeah. So I went to the Qigong class, and immediately first class, I felt the energy in my hands.
Tingly, yeah.
Yeah, and then moving in my body. So, but I'd never thought about energy and what that even means and like how to move it. It just, because I went to a class, I practiced, and it happened. So it is difficult for me to like, if someone's like, well, what is energy? I'm like, I don't know. It's energy that moves in our meridians and through our chakras and upper spine, and you just got to feel it.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Connection to universal spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel too, like really a lot of my tantric practices and like what I do one-on-one is like, we are teaching you to become more sensitive to your sensations, which in a way, yes, like your sensations help you feel the energy, but also like the key to feeling more sensation is usually emotions. Like I always explain energy, like emotions are energy in motion, and they want to move. And like you said, the tingling is usually the first one, like when you like rub your palms and then you're able to like feel this sense of almost like a string connecting. And like breath work was the shortcut for me to accessing like extreme like tingling in my hands. And then I got the tetany and I was like, what is this? Like my body is just like shutting down. But then I feel like the new layer, like you just become more sensitive. Your body becomes more aware of like, oh, I feel this. Like, oh, I feel tension here. You know, even things like pain, tension, that's just also accumulated energy, you know, that hasn't been released too. So yeah, the sensational aspect is huge. And probably too, because most people are in this like constant state of numbness and disconnection. You know, it was the main reason that I went into this work, because I was like, yearning for this level of connection and just kept being met, you know, in relationships that weren't it, and or they were too intense and they brought up all my like inner child wounding and all this like questioning of emotional turmoil that I feel like I would spin into until I realized like, whoa, you know, there's ways to co-create and not feel like a victim, and know like, okay, I do have this power to feel, to direct, to think differently, to create differently. So, yeah.
One of the reasons I focused on solo tantra for the individual, is working with our own self should be the foundation. But it's also because I meet so many couples, married people, that one person is really into this and the other person isn't at all. Like one's like the yoga, spiritual, Reiki, Tantra person, and they're coming to me to learn more or get healing. And then their spouse is just like a gym person or you know, going about their day. And it doesn't matter like gender, because I have seen both that are more that are not into learning this sort of thing. So I've taught the solo person because I'm able to bring Tantra into their life alone. And then I can teach them practices that someone not interested in that is still open to doing. Like they don't have to care about energy and they're too scientific. They can still do this and feel things and feel like deeper connection, like doing eye gazing. But I would like to know if you are like helping someone come to your soulgasm and
Yeah.
they're a couple and their partner's a little hesitant, like how would you describe it to the partner, or have their have them explain it to their partner?
Yeah. So, no, I mean, I think that's a great point that you bring up. There's definitely couples that I've worked with where, yes, one person is more, maybe, yeah, more into this spiritual healing journey than their partner. So, the
Mhm.
biggest thing I always say, like, be the example and invite your partner to step into this world. I think the biggest thing I've always like found is like, when you have these experiences and you're sharing them, it should inspire curiosity. It should inspire play. But I think sometimes we get into this rut of like, you need to heal or you need to do the healing. I'm doing all this healing. You're not healing enough. Or I'm not this, I'm not that. But that's part of the reason where I create Soulgasm, where it's still like a fun date night to do. So even
Mhm.
at the basic level, you just want to connect more with your partner. You may experience things, you may not. If anything, it's a beautiful just experience to feel closer to your partner and learn something new. So I think there is so much power in even seeing that like all these workshops, it's for us just to get back into, being a student, being curious, seeing that you haven't figured it all out, that actually there's limitless potential of learning and experiencing. And this may be that spark that ignites something even deeper that you didn't expect. So, on one level, I definitely recommend that approach. But what I have found that works a lot with maybe
Mhm.
specifically maybe men, because men are
Mhm.
usually more like, oh, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to learn this, or like they're more like, oh, what is it going to give me?
Yeah.
And it is like either knowing that it's going to give you a release. Sometimes a lot of men are like, yeah, I just want to de-stress. I want to be able to get into that relaxed state. Or, hey, I want to, feel more power. I want to feel more energy and just like,
Mm.
feel more of myself. And then sometimes too, I'm like, hey, like, honey, wouldn't you like, are you curious about exploring like a full body orgasm? They may be like, oh, what's that? I've never heard of this. So I think sometimes, planting those seeds and getting the conversation going of like, wow, like people are able to experience this, like, or you want to learn and try this out. I think that would be my first approach for sure.
Yeah, full body orgasms, longer orgasms, not 2-second orgasms. But yeah, I have some the opposite wives, and they're orgasmic, but they're
Mm,
not multi-orgasmic. So
mm.
that's a way I could mention it as well. Is well, yeah, you
Wow.
can have clitoral orgasms now, but wouldn't you like to have 10 of those and like full vaginal and full body orgasms?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm so curious because I still haven't gotten to the level of being able to just fully go into back to back orgasms. I'm curious, like,
Mhm.
what has been a big thing that helps people surrender more into that state of pleasure?
Oh, the right partner. Especially for me, it's been tantric partners. Like I feel
Mhm.
like, okay, they come from a similar place. I don't have to worry about getting stuck in a relationship with them if we both don't want it. I get a little
Mhm.
afraid of people that are very monogamous and like, all right, we've been on X amount of dates. Is this going to be a relationship or it's not? So I feel like we can have this great place and leave it there, then I can be more open. And
Mhm.
it's also because with like more of a hookup culture, it's now like, well, you can't have like you can have great sex, but you can't have too good. You can't open up too much because
Mhm.
it's showing too much of your emotions and you're too vulnerable, which is just so silly. Like we should
Yeah.
be able to fully open up in that moment without scaring either person.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this girl like opened up way too much when we had sex. She probably wants to get married and have my babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever it is. So yeah, me really trusting the person and having some sort of feel a sense of freedom is basically what all of that is for me.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, making sure my energetic body is turned on.
Just turn on. Yeah. Yeah.
But just doing all the Tantra practices as well, and having massages, like body work done to open my body up and let go of tension has helped. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just been all this combination of things. And I've also had different experiences. I got into like doing like weed edibles the last couple of years, and that I had never really been into that stuff before, into doing weed. And then like I started getting like all these like weed lubes and like for like putting on my pussy and like eating. And I've noticed like if I'm at a time where I'm just like, I don't want to open up to someone, like we've been in a relationship for a while and we're having some issues or something, or I'm just like working too much and like self-pleasuring, I'm not as orgasmic, then that like I can do like a weed gummy or lube, and that will just make me come like 10 times because it's like removing the anxiety. Maybe it's releasing like tension or fascia, some like a combination of the mental and actual physical. I'm not saying to like overdo something like that or do it if someone's not into it, but just for me, it's that type of plant has opened me up sometimes when I'm not able, or I don't have like an hour or two to decompress before sex.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful that you say that, the piece too, because definitely all this work has really helped me become more confident in just expressing how I feel, regardless of the outcome, which I think really is the missing link to enjoying more of your dating and your sex life. And whether you're single or partnered, it really is, I think, goes back to expressing yourself and knowing that you're expressing it for you, right? Not just to get something out of someone or to have an experience, but really just for you to be able to flow and feel good. And yeah, I hope people can really see that, yeah, by you practicing this vulnerability, regardless of who you're with, it's preparing you to when you are, in that romantic union and partnership, because that's when, in that commitment, like all these, emotions and feelings will be there, but can you still stay true to you and say what you're feeling and be committed to that truth? I think that's huge when it comes to just being able to have better sex. I mean, it's helped me, and almost like even just being able to release emotion, like you said, without thinking, oh my gosh, I'm too vulnerable and they're going to think that I want a relationship. Like, no, it's to actually have the conversation before. Hey, like, where are you at in your life? What are kind of your intentions? Do you know what you're looking for? Like, great. If both of you know, like, hey, I just explore sexually and I would love to stay friends, but I don't, I'm not ready for anything deeper. Boom, that like already gives you the clarity to know, like, hey, I know where this begins and where it ends.
Yeah.
It's a safe container to explore and know that, yeah, you feeling out what feels good to you.
Yeah, I'm curious actually. A little sidetracked here, but we're both in Florida, and Florida's a big mix of people, but like St. Pete being like Tampa area, Central Florida, there's a lot more like conservative, traditional people, like at least half the population. And so I get this fear because I've had it happen so many times with dating, we'll say men in particular, that, all right, we have sex for the first time and they think I'm in a relationship with them. I mean, I know there's a whole like online date. Like I've done dating apps where like, yeah, you're dating someone for a month or two and you're not sure if you're together. Like, what is this? But I have a lot of experiences of the opposite, where it's someone more traditional and they're like, all right, well, we've had sex now, so this is like a relationship. And like, we're going to keep seeing each other like 4 days a week. Do you experience that in Miami?
I would say probably it's the opposite in
Yeah.
Miami, but I think it just still goes back down to like, do we have the clarity of what we want, right? Or are we talking about, right? What our expectations, not expectations, but like, yeah, what page we're on. I think that's like a huge thing, that even once you're in a relationship, to have check-ins, to see if like your needs are getting met, or if you're on these different pages, because like that goes
Mm.
back to this experience of like, sex to you may mean something different, than to the other person. So even
Yeah, for
having
sure.
that understanding of like, yeah, maybe that person would be like, yeah, once we have sex, I feel like, we're moving towards, something deeper, eventually marriage. I mean, that's one thought. The other thought could be like,
Yeah.
no, sex is just like, oh, I'm just connecting to my body and exploring sensations with someone and as friends. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Or this is a great relationship. Let's continue it for as long as that is. That
yeah.
might be a year or 5 years or forever, but let's try our best to keep it healthy and not have too many expectations that shouldn't. I think it's difficult because we want people to like us. A bigger example is I'm a rock climber, so I meet a lot of people through rock climbing because that's like kind of all I do. I hear so often guys tell me, they're like, oh, my dream, they always use the word dream, is to find a rock climber girl so that they can rock climb together and travel and like have little rock climbing babies together. Yes, rock climbing babies.
Yeah, they want the
That's what
fit.
they want.
Yeah, that's what they want. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm always like, well, we're all not the same, right? So you should think of some things you that are also important, because I ran into talking with like dating wise with guys, and they would be so shocked when something didn't match up to their fantasy of that rock climber girl. And we
Yeah.
could have that with other things in life. Our fantasy person, like, oh, you have blonde hair, you're probably like this, like my fantasy girl that's like so sweet and nice and everything. Someone could be blonde hair and a dominatrix, and they're opposite. So the rock
Yeah.
climb guys looking for rock climbing wives and babies, they can be like, I can be like, hey, I'm polyamorous. And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, like,
You didn't mention this right away. That's not what I'm looking for. Like,
yeah.
that doesn't sound right. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're all different. People create fantasies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so guys especially will create a fantasy about someone and ignore something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Which
ignore,
I'm sure this happens both with women and men. I
oh,
mean, I'm like, trust me, like I was the first to create all these fantasies of the life that we are going to have together, and I'm already date one, and I'm like creating this whole story in my mind, hoping that they will fit into this creation. Yeah.
yeah, sure.
So I totally understand that. But I guess at this point I've gotten really good at just asking the questions. Like I know kind of I know what I'm searching for in partnership, and I have the values. So it's like, if
Yeah.
the partner doesn't have the core values, like for me, big thing
Mhm.
is truth. Like I want to hear it no matter how much it hurts. You would be surprised when you ask people like, how do you feel about lying? Someone may go, oh yeah, a little lie is okay here and there. I'm like, for me, no. Like that means if you're lying about the little things, who knows what else you're gonna lie about, right?
Yeah.
So like these are the questions we need to be asking when we're dating and meeting each other. And same thing, like you said, like the poly, like I always say, like I'm monogamish. Like
Yeah.
I want the traditional, I want for now. I'm also like, I'm monogamish for now. It may change, but like what I want is I want us together, but I want shared experiences with my partner. And sometimes I'm okay with sharing sexual energy. Maybe not,
Mm.
but for me, I'm like pretty open sexual energy wise to
Yes.
the world. So
Okay, so what
yeah,
I heard there
yeah.
was you're a pretty girl, and I heard monogamish. She might change for me. I can, I can please her, and then she'll be monogamous forever.
Oh no, hopefully not. Hopefully they're not thinking this. Usually most of them are kind of like, they run off. When they say that, they're like, if
Yeah.
it doesn't match up there,
Right.
fantasy.
But also, I think people in Miami don't have time to waste, and they have, millions of people to choose from.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I know with Miami is the energy here is there's so many options.
Mhm.
There's like I don't like giving stereotypes to cities because everyone is
Sure.
complaining about dating in every city. But what
Mhm.
I can say energetically, like I feel the difference when I go to Europe. It's a different, like here it's sunny, the ocean, the boat parties, like there's always something to do. So unless you really have that grounded clarity of what you want, you can easily get wrapped up into other things. So yeah, I mean, I wonder kind of how St. Pete energy wise. Well, so you're saying it's more conservative there. So it
Well,
seems,
St. Pete and Tampa, it's about half conservative or traditional, we'll call it.
yeah,
And then the other half, we're totally wild, whatever.
totally. Yeah, the two extremes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which,
Maybe it's about finding someone, their authenticity,
mhm,
willing to share who they truly are, not just look at our appearance and be like, all right, I want to get laid or I want to be in a relationship with her. So I'm going to
yeah,
agree with this like Tantra stuff or whatever. So yeah, figuring out how they're authentic, because like I don't want to spend time like seeing someone if it's not going to match up. Like the sex won't be great, the relationship's going nowhere. But I also know like, uh, oops.
yeah.
I
Yes.
also know us that's the other thing. People that practice Tantra, students of Tantra, we have this like magnetic appearance. We're like, we can be like a little mesmerizing. There's something unique and different to
Mhm.
us.
Yeah.
And that can repel people, or it can attract people in,
Yeah. Which
and
I
not
think it's
necessarily the right person.
right. Which I think it's that authenticity piece. I feel
Mhm.
like all of this work has taught me to step into my authentic truth and really, yeah, step into my power by being myself. And like you said, I think we spend so much time trying to be something to get people to like us. There comes a point where hopefully you get to a state where you're like, this is all of me, take it or leave it. And also knowing that, like, I will attract people. And luckily, I have friends that, like, wow, the friendships I have, they've been amazing models of
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
what I now aspire in my romantic partnerships because the level of space holding that we've had for each other, the
Mm.
vulnerability, the ability to express how we feel, I'm like, wow, maybe I haven't had that in a romantic container yet, but I know what I'm not going to settle for anymore. Which is, and I always say, like, you being authentically you, that is the most attractive thing in a person. It's like a
Oh,
person who's
yeah.
really discovered a lot about themselves, either continues to, do self discovery. That's what's beautiful, and that's where we want to know. We want you to be vulnerable. Like, hey, this is where I'm still struggling and I'm working on this, but this is what I've really, learned and I'm continuing to grow into.
Yeah. I think all people can feel when something's being hidden.
I don't think everyone could feel that. To be honest, I feel like I've gotten a good radar. I think eventually it'll catch up. Like but it may be 3 months in, right? I feel like what I've
Mhm.
learned, especially, is to have such a truth radar to know right away. Or like, this feels off. My body's saying something. I'm going to listen. Because old me would
Mhm.
continue in relationships thinking like, oh, maybe it's just my head. I have this
Yeah.
feeling, but like, no, boom, 3 months later, I was like, oh, he was cheating on me. But I was like trying to be like open and optimistic. And I was like, oh, it can't be real. So it is like,
Mhm.
yeah, the more that you're authentic with yourself and in your truth radar is like off the charts. You're like, no, this doesn't feel right. Or, hey, like, let me ask another question to get more clarity to.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Speaking of truth radar, it
yeah.
also matters whether we're drinking alcohol, because mine,
Oh, yeah.
it
Hmm.
clouds my ability to like sense energy,
Yeah.
dulls that a little, makes people look more attractive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also with like that's another thing with like the multi-orgasm thing is, I also can't drink alcohol. Like maybe I could have half a glass of wine or something, but a lot of women don't know, like just that one glass. Yeah, sure, they can have one orgasm maybe, but it's going to be hard to be multi-orgasmic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
And then
every
maybe
time.
they can't have any orgasms.
Yeah, for me, anytime that alcohol was involved, I had a lot of, it was easier for me to loosen up and sleep with someone, but to have an orgasm and really that level of release, yeah, I haven't been able to. Which, yeah, that's my biggest advice is go on sober dates. Like,
Mhm.
it's the best way to really tune into the energy because once you start drinking, sometimes I know myself, I would go into my own fantasy world. And so I'm just like, literally once again in my creation and able to experience something that like the next day I sober up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it wasn't really not that it wasn't real, but it was like not the full truth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not as logical.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Well, I love this conversation. I hope
Mhm.
that anyone who watches this is really inspired to explore more their truth, how they go out into the dating world, and also to look into Tantra and see if this is something that can help awaken and expand you to new levels of love.
Awesome.
Yeah. Deborah, do you have any other things coming up, like any workshops or anything?
No, I just have everything on solotantra.com. So everything I offer is on there, or my YouTube channel you can find through there, Deborah Wilder Meditation. Kind of like enjoying summer and trying to hit up some Tantra classes around Florida myself.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah. So this summer I will also be traveling, but be on the lookout for Soulgasm. Next one is Saturday. And then I will be back end of August again in Miami. But
Wonderful.
yeah, follow me on Instagram, Pretty Gypsy Dreams, and then besexessful.com for any one-on-one work. And yeah, this was fun. So I'm sure we might do this again on a
Mhm.
different topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay tuned for more.
Wonderful. Bye.